How you doing? And welcome back to Taekwondo Bro. So on the screen we have a little solo workout over here with Bob, kind of like a heavy bag, doing some combos, a little bit high paced. And the topic we're going to be discussing today is solo training, so a couple methods you can use and why you might want to employ it. I mean, you can be in a lot of positions. You could be kind of like me where, I do try to train sometimes with friends, but I'm not going to a school at this moment, so a lot of my training is solo. Or you could be like I was a while ago, where you're at a school and then you have like some time to work out and you want to use that to improve your martial arts skills and also get fit instead of just doing one or the other. So let's go over a couple of different ways that we can train solo. So one that I see a lot in the gym, and I see a lot of other people doing it, is shadow boxing. Now, if you've never done shadow boxing, it's pretty much you just kind of line up with a mirror and you kind of work on your combination. It's like sparring as close as you can get with one person. So you kind of move, keep your guard up, throw different combos, see how you're looking, and it's nice. It's a great way to get moving. I do start my trainings with that sometimes. I don't like to do the whole thing as shadow boxing because there's no feedback to your techniques. And I just prefer to do kind of, techniques one by one when I'm doing them in the air like that. But shadow boxing is great because, it kind of activates that same part of your brain where you're throwing combinations and you're like, what am I going to do now? Jab, cross, round kick, the side step, turn around, side kick, you back up, pinwheel kick, whatever you're trying to do that day. So it's nice, keep your hands up, keep moving, and it's a great way to kind of emulate sparring when you got no one to spar with you. And that kind of brings me to a similar kind of training, which is forms training. And in a way, it's almost like shadow boxing because, you're doing techniques, except these ones are in order, so it's more like a little training routine. And when you kind of get a little bit higher in the ranks, you're supposed to realize like the different little pieces of a form. So each form is kind of like a string of combinations. And the way to really kind of turn that training alive is you need to know what each combination, which 3-4 move little combos, where you employ them, you train them, you get the good technique with it, and it's a great way to spend time training alone, especially if you have no equipment. I mean, you can just walk into a field in the park, work on some forms. You can do some shadow boxing with no mirror. There's a lot of things you can do with no equipment to really spend time. And as you're doing that form, you focus on your techniques, your stances, how you move in between them, and then hopefully when you get moving with other forms of training, you take that with you. And there's a lot of forms out there. I mean, if I went through the form section of my channel and just did all of them, it would probably take me like an hour and a half. So you definitely do need to focus on which ones you're doing. And we're going to move on from that. Another thing you can do if you're training alone, and even in classes I would do this, was slow-mo reps or repetitions. So you just focus on doing a technique slowly, focusing on each little part. For example, what I always say in videos is roundhouse kicks. Make sure you rechamber that foot, because sometimes you focus so much on throwing the kick, once it impacts you get a little bit sloppy. And as we know in sparring, if you throw a round kick out there and don't pull it back, it can be grabbed, which can lead to a whole bunch of problems stemming from that. And it just goes to show with a lot of techniques, we're doing it slow, focusing, and then speeding that up over time and trying to keep it clean, trying to keep it quick. Sometimes people, they're kind of too tense, so that's also a thing you can work on in slow motion forms, not just super flexing on everything, because it's going to slow you down, it's going to take more effort, you're going to get more tired throwing techniques like that. So doing slow motion techniques is great. You can do it on your own. What I do is I would set up like a little notepad thing on my iPhone, and I'll be like, okay, I'll be doing like round kicks, this many reps each foot. Okay, anyways, let's move on to the next type of training. And this one is people's favorite when it comes to solo training. That's the heavy bag. And I see a lot of people at the gym doing this because they have a whole bunch of them kind of hanging from the wall. And it's a great thing when you're training solo to be able to hit something, because a lot of these kind of in-the-air techniques, you have no feedback, you can't really work power, and it's a different beast when you get to hit something. And usually in a class you'll have either people holding the pads, or you're hitting people and sparring, so you have kind of like more of a physical feedback. where when you start working the heavy bag, at least it's moving. You have like the inertia behind it. But a lot of people I see at the gym, they kind of just go ape on the bag. It doesn't seem like they have much of like a tactic going on. They just start hitting it endlessly, and I mean, hitting it continuously is cool. However, I don't think it's particularly like realistic training. I've never seen like a sparring round where one fighter just goes 100% offensive for the whole time. So it's good to kind of leave like gaps in there, kind of go on the defensive, so to speak, get your hands back up, practice some movement. So what I like to do is I'll set a timer for like 5 minutes, and I kind of do like a fake sparring round. So I'll go, offense, couple combos here and there. I'll start moving, put my hands up as if the bag is going to hit me. Obviously, it's not going to. And then I keep at it. I keep moving. And even when I'm attacking, I'm not just in one spot. I kind of practice moving in and out. I'll move like left and right, to kind of simulate something a little more lively. But then there's also times where I'll just set like a shorter timer, and I will just go 100% offensive. And that's honestly more to work like cardio. That's like, it's very hard to keep up such a high-paced offense like that, but it's good because it gives you that like reserve of energy to use when it comes to real sparring. And then there's also times when I'll work like specific techniques, so I'll just go, either if it's in my head or on my phone, I'll have like a list of moves, how many times I'm going to do them, left foot, right foot, this, that, and the other, and then I'll just kind of work through the list doing that. And that's a little bit more slow-paced, but it's also nice because you can get a little more like technical with just one technique. It gives you more chance to focus on one move instead of putting them all together. There's a time for both of those things, but it's not all the time. So if you're going to practice a lot on the heavy bag, just kind of know what you're doing before you get on it, and then you'll be able to plan more accordingly. You get a lot more out of it than just hitting the bag as hard as you can. And that leads to a kind of similar thing here, which is the speed bag. I actually have a speed bag in my little kind of like home gym, although I had to kind of stack it up behind stuff because we don't have like infinite space in there. But the speed bag is nice. It's kind of, it's like a similar thing to the heavy bag, but obviously you're not really hitting it as hard. You're kind of going more technical, more with the flow. And I like it more for just like, staying moving. I'll do it like in between sets of like other workouts, or I'll just set it for like, 10 minutes of just moving on the speed bag, hitting it, blocking it. It's nice because it comes back at you, so you can practice kind of doing like a jab cross hook, put your hand up because it's going to swing around, you block it. It's nice for that. It gives you some blocking practice. Now obviously it's a little limited on like the angles it can come at you, but definitely it's a great thing to do, and keeps your hands up. Because a lot of times when you're training solo, since no one's hitting you, it's easy to kind of just start slacking on the guard a little bit. So it's definitely good for that. I like doing the speed bag. I might actually bring it back out and start doing some videos with it. So let me know what you think about that. And then we're moving down the list here, getting all these different solo training methods. Next one, I've done it before, which is the agility ball. It's kind of like a headband. It's got like some kind of like bungee string on it, and it has like a soft ball. And your goal is pretty much to just keep punching it, and as you punch it, it bounces out, it kind of rebounds back, and you hit to punch it again. And it's kind of like a one-person game of tennis, and it's really testing hand-eye coordination and like the smoothness of your movement, and like kind of like the angle you're hitting it when you punch. So, I've seen a lot of guys do like amazing streaks on YouTube with it. It's definitely a great thing. It's not the most versatile thing, because you can only do like a couple different punches with it, and you're pretty much just going like punch, 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 punch. So it's not necessarily the most realistic rhythm, but that hand-eye coordination it gives you is very useful to be able to just punch a little ball like that coming at you. And it's also good for some people because if they tend to flinch a little bit on impact, that thing's going to be coming at your face, so it's kind of going to break that reflex in you, which is nice. You don't want to be flinching when stuff that's coming at you. And overall, it's pretty nice. It's not really, there's not too many variations I know of yet to do that, so it's more like a simple, you just strap it on and start going for X amount of minutes thing, and that's nice. And we'll go on to the last couple things here, which is going to be conditioning. So when you're on your own, either if it's in between classes or if you're not currently training, conditioning is important. whether that be strength-based conditioning and cardio. And there's definitely a benefit to be had in martial arts just from doing conditioning, being stronger, being able to go faster, being able to go longer is a benefit regardless. However, if you're focusing on martial arts, you need to tailor kind of what you're doing to get the most benefit out of it. Like, for example, instead of just doing straight cardio, swimming, biking, running, you might want to do kind of something more, sport related to what you're doing. So you can do like some of these follow along workouts on YouTube, or you can go on like a punching bag and just focus on cardio, doing the techniques, bouncing, keeping your guard up. There's a lot of different variations of things you can do when it comes to focused cardio. And it also goes for focused strength training too, which is a little bit harder, but I think one of the better ways to do like a focused strength training towards martial arts is doing something kind of like explosive leg workouts, like let's say like you're like doing jump squats, or you're switching feet and you jump up, swap feet, drop back down low. Focus on that explosive leg power, because that's really important to have that, and sometimes it's easy to overlook it. You can also do things like sled pushes to kind of give that like explosive leg strength in another way. And then a thing I used to do was on the cable machines, I would kind of use both the hands, and I would kind of practice like slow punching with the heavy weights, focusing on muscles that you're going to use in martial arts and sparring and forms and whatnot. Another good one is that's kind of slept on is jump roping, because a lot of kind of explosive footwork, your calves are going to get tired. So if you can find a way to isolate the calves in a kind of like explosive, high-paced cardio kind of way, I'm not saying it's the only way to do calves, but that's a great one, because if you get tired with like your footwork, but you still have all this energy to throw techniques, you're not going to be able to effectively move into range to use them. So making sure you have that ready to go is another thing you can do. Stuff like clapping push-ups, those are great. Good pull-ups too is nice. You get benefits from general strength training, but like I say, if you can find some ways to kind of focus on the muscle groups, focus on the ways you're using them for martial arts, that's how you get the most benefit. Because you can, let's say like you're doing a lot of cardio, swimming, like you're going to be very fit cardiovascularly, but like I said before, maybe your calves just don't have that kind of strength to propel you forward for multiple rounds of sparring, or for like a whole 1 hour workout session. So getting that ready to go, focusing on all these different methods together is a great way to use your time alone to improve your skills. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here. We've kind of gone over a lot of different methods of training. Now obviously there's a lot more. You can go into a lot of specifics. You can go into like holding a horse stance, planks. You can go on for hours on all the different ways to train. But what I'm saying is, just because you're on your own doesn't mean you can focus that training towards martial arts. So when you do get back with people, when you do train, you've kind of improved in small ways. You're never going to be able to beat that kind of in-class setting, going up against people, doing different drills. But what I'm saying is that time on your own, not only use it for conditioning, but you can use it to build some skills, and those skills can take you a long way. So anyways, like I said, this is it for this video. Let me know if you have any solo training methods in the comments, or if you have anything you'd like to suggest in the future. Anyways, take care, and I will see you next time.